We'll see now if you're Beast Coast, how do you want to try and counter this? Could just see a similar strategy, but BKB oriented. Could look for some damage that maybe is not entirely spell dependent, kind of in a similar way. We see teams try to play around the Doom picks, but they now absolutely have to take that into account. This is not going to be free for them. They have to plan around the silencer.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I do like Clockwork. Classic, just versus Hoodwink Silencer supports as well, saying that we just want a hero to go in and look for kills, something that SA loves to do with their 5. And they do
Wow.
go for the Bloodseeker, okay? I think covering their Bat Rider a little bit here, but also just wanting a brawl hero versus the Undying. And we'll have to see how that lane actually goes and watch real close because Speed plays for denies. He will play in your face. It's where I wonder how easy a lane that Hector actually has in front of him here. Not to mention, there's a Hoodwink in the game. You are a hero that dies real easy. Your stats do not climb that quickly. Even once you have BKB, you're still sitting 1800, 1900 HP. It's why the Hoodwink has become so valuable, just because you can die very easily first, and then, well, you're not going to see much from Hector. Do they just pick the Naga?
Okay.
Yep, you pick an illusion hero. This is why they banned out that Darkseer earlier on in the phase, make it less likely that that counter comes through, and DNM's on his comfort pick yet again.
The Queen of Pain will get banned out. I suppose for Beast Coast with the Bloodseeker pick, that is your hero. That maybe fills a little bit of what I was talking about. A hero that obviously does more damage with his spells, but if he is silenced, he's still going to be able to right click and will be looking for a BKB. But as you pointed out, that's not just a I have BKB, I can do what I want scenario. You still aren't the tankiest of individuals here. And we just saw against DNM's Naga Siren, if you get your BKBs too early, well, the song then just ends up punishing you anyway. So they're going to have to be unbelievably careful about the way that they play this. And, well, I guess that'll all depend on what this final pick is going to be from the Beast Coast side, because 5RAT are assuming the Bat Rider's going mid. And that feels like a pretty safe assumption at this point. They take the Snapfire out here, not just because Sacred played it, but also you still have the Undying in your lineup. Last time around, his Tombstone was basically useless until the late game, so they would like to have more of an impact for speed.
Yeah, and I am grinding my gears here a little bit to see what kits is going to want to play, and pretty
Hmm.
adept Storm Spirit band there. Just again, covering the Bat Rider, trying to limit what kits can play into it. I don't want to say that kits is going to look for a hero like the Invoker, but is certainly an option. It's where I really am looking at Lena, kind of first and foremost, just as not only hero to lane and even dominate the Bat Rider, but also just staying as far back as possible. Only problem then is that both your 1 and 2 are hard farmers at that point, and you don't really have too many inspired plays you can make. The entire lineup then feels really passive, even though I think for the lane, that's certainly one of their best options. It's where I think Beast Coast have a slightly easier to execute lineup right now. 5RAT really only have 2 stuns right now when it comes to their actual team fighting. There's a lot of kiting, there's a lot of baiting going on. One thing you can say is that at least for the Undying, that Tombstone looks a whole lot better this game. Really isn't the best tomb hitter. Bloodseeker never really becomes that. And they go for the Primal. Okay. Like it a lot. Just super solid, incredibly solid versus the Naga Siren, that hero that's just going to cause chaos on the map. Make sure that DNM is always going to be with those checks and balances. But we'll see, because also you're playing versus Silencer. You're going to need to get, hopefully, your 15 pretty quick. Then you can dispel it off at least. But it's a very annoying Primal game. And yet again, another BKB hero. And this is where the two teams diverge, because Beast Coast say, we're going to get 3 BKBs on all of our cores. We're going to run over you. You're never going to think about it. And they pick Ember. And 5RAT are the exact opposite. They are not looking for BKB timings. They are looking to play this game low and slow, look for those plays with Moose and your Ember on kits, but otherwise, they are looking to drag this one out real long. And if Beast Coast miss that timing, if they're unable to press the issue with those BKBs, then they run out of gas. And that's where 5RAT probably take a real clean win.
Yeah, 5RAT hoping that things look a hell of a lot like game one here in this second match as well. And, well, it'll be up to Beast Coast to make the plays to try and avoid falling into that same trap, because they don't really have any other way to play it, right? You talked about the triple BKB play. You can't really call an audible and shift out of that with the heroes you've picked up.
You know, it's what they're playing for. It's what the entire game plan is. It's to get those 3 items and then immediately take the entire map away from 5RAT. And if they hit their timing well enough, that will just be the game. That's where 5RAT are unable to do anything, and then it's GG. You know, all of our heroes are useless versus BKBs. There's not much we can do. But if 5RAT make whittle plays, if they slow up one of the cores from Beast Coast, if they go in between those timings, that's where 5RAT purely just farming will be more comfortable to take that game later. It's where they can't afford to feed, they can't afford to get too caught up and give Beast Coast time, but if the game does go too long, then they're going to be at a heavy advantage where it's going to be Beast Coast who are pressed to always find kills, to always be ahead. And Beast Coast should be ahead for most of this game, but the second it starts looking like it's 5RAT, that's probably their win.
Just gonna have to balance on that knife edge for long enough to get the win here, as we are going to be loading in, so we'll see. Beast Coast down to really their final attempt here, down 0-1 in a best of 3 with elimination on the line. No more room for mistakes, no more margin for error. They have got to deliver here, or their run will come to a kind of shockingly quick end.
No, it'd be catastrophic for Beast Coast, and we'll see as soon as Dark Mago gets back into the server. Still just chilling on that Bat Rider, but if there's one hero, though, that I would say that I could trust Dark Mago to give us at least a little bit more of a game, it is certainly going to be his Bat. And I think with the Ember Spirit drafted into it as well, Dark Mago certainly will have his instances to be that solo carry. Both the sidelines are so gankable as well. It's where this Bat Rider is really beautifully set up. Just a matter of how they play, with their timings, with their early abilities. It's where Beast Coast have a very kitted lineup when it comes to those early team fights. But the name of the game for 5RAT is dealing with aggression. It's shoving them off of you and then finding quick picks in between. It's a touch and run. It's really a hit and run strategy that 5RAT have put together.
A hit and run strat with maybe the bailout play of the global silence if you get caught a little bit too deep, but we'll see, because, I mean, this honestly could work, right? This silencer pickup, but if it doesn't, then we'll always have in the back of our minds the idea that something a little bit more defensive could have been there. Something to better deal with the Bat Rider was still available, but they're willing to take the risk. And listen, up 1-0 in a best of 3, you know, that's the time to take a risk. You can afford to maybe do a little bit of experimenting at that stage.
And Schofield getting hit up a little bit, but draft-wise, this is probably my favorite draft so far of this BTS Pro series. Just the way that heroes are drafted in aggressive positions to force out picks that really neither side could go for. Just very intelligent style of drafting. Again, another little pause. Really, 5RAT have been complaining about the lag a little bit all day and all tournament. They've definitely been consistent. Small pauses, no DCs, but a little here and there. And okay, Beast go say, yeah, maybe you're onto something.
They're feeling it a little bit here as well, and well, once the game gets resumed, we'll see. It's just how much damage Schofield takes here. They know he took the Fade Bolt already, just threw it out onto Moose, but Moose as well does not have the Bushwhack, so don't really have any lockdown. Speed probably isn't going to be all that interested in a long chase, so I don't think Schofield dies here, but he's probably going to take a pretty substantial amount of damage while the Hoodwink just kind of chases after him.
Yeah, and it's not like you can never not TP, but this is also where I think Schofield is just going to lane down here. I think that they've decided to put the Clockwork in a position to probably creep up onto the Silencer, and if he can close that distance, then, well, that's exactly what you picked the Clockwork for, but it also means that Schofield TPing to his tier 1 bottom doesn't feel really all too good, and I think that's Dark Mago saying they got 28 packet loss, so that's some pretty brutal lag, but hopefully they're going to be able to deal with it, because that is, I've played on that. That is not playable.
You're just feeling like you're playing in quicksand at that point, or not quicksand, mud? Let's say mud. That makes more sense. But now we got multiple players DC'd, everybody dealing with some issues here, so slowly but surely, we're going to try and get some of these guys back in. We got a couple of reconnects already with Stinger and Sacred back, and oh, This is always the problem. With lag, normally a reconnect kind of fixes you up. If it's packet loss, it's dark magic, basically. But no guarantees that a reconnect helps you out. But hopefully we can get this going, because we had a little bit of a scare yesterday, ET, with a team basically running out of pause time. It didn't
你这么
actually
看
end
着
up
都有不生
affecting
气吧，哥哥？
the direct match itself. No one had to play 4v5, but the long pause, very much capable of taking a team out of their element.
Yeah, and it's where you want to keep in that headspace if you're 5-rat. We already saw yesterday the pause, I think, causing chaos for Nouns, where
Hmm.
it's really difficult to establish that winner mentality that we like to say, where you get that momentum, you feel invulnerable, you believe in your plays, but as soon as you start losing, you just start to lose that touch. And hopefully that's where 5-rat isn't going to be too perturbed here, because they do have what feels like it is going to be a long, difficult game ahead of them with how strong these Beast Coast lanes are. But with that, pause is underway, and oh, the Rubik's gonna walk away. As with pauses as well, everybody gets to really reassess and run the numbers. So they decide that okay, hitting the Rubik's maybe not as valuable as giving K1 some clicks instead.
They did quite a bit of damage to him just with that kind of casual switch over. Takes out about half of his HP. So, no, probably the more efficient play from them. And well, Moose is even trying to get in there, steal a last hit, deny K1 the opportunity to, well, deny his creeps under the tower. So this is what Moose is going to do. He doesn't have the Bushwhack yet to actually try and go for anything, so just be disruptive, because honestly, if K1 gets off to a rough start here, if he has to move into the jungle earlier than you would like, well, will there be enough space? Because the Bat's going to want to take camps. You're going to want a BKB relatively early for your Primal as well, so you'll have a lot of guys competing for potentially smaller amounts of farm earlier in the game.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because
Oh my
5-rat,
god.
as soon as they hit level 2, then it's gonna be time. But yeah, mid Kits 9 stacks didn't have to use his TP, but this is where you mismanage a little bit, and he'll actually TP forward to try and get some of these lasses under his own tower. But that's pretty much all of Dark Mago's mana. Of course, he is Bat Rider. It's not the most expensive spell in the world, but this is not the start to the lane that Kits wanted.
He is fortunate that he doesn't get picked off, but still a rough time for him. Does Dark Mako have... Well, he's close to the bottle. I thought maybe he pushed that far forward because it was already coming out to him, but that's not the case. So Kits will at least have a slight reprieve here, where he knows Dark Mako can't really punish him too heavily, but he is going to have to catch up a bit.
Yeah, still wicked annoying lane, but bottle is coming out. Water rune spawned. Kits has his boots coming on, so is waiting for it. That's the bottle, just a little bit of a later timing, but now is going to be under a lot less pressure. Can actually just afford to walk away from the Bat Rider in a lot of these situations now.
Right. That was already one where Dark Mako didn't have the move speed advantage, part of the reason why Kits was able to fall back, so now that he has boots and his opponent doesn't, it's going to be even tougher, but if you're Dark Mako, I'm not really sure you care too much, right? If you get the kill, great. Otherwise, just try and establish your presence in this lane, rune control, lane control, etc. You should still be just fine. The question that I have at this point is, can they slow DNM down in the top lane like they did in Game 1? Eventually, the Naga just kind of shoved off into the jungle and did Naga Siren things, but in the early stages of Game 1, they really did a good job of baiting DNM into some earlier engagements that slowed his farming progress. I'm not really sure that they have the means to do that this time around.
Yeah, and really, it's where Sacred is just waiting. As soon as he sees an opportunity, he will trample on top of you. He gets to walk it back. It's where DNM is and should probably save a point up in the net just in case he needs to make that quick disengage happen. But, well, there you go. He gets level 3. He will net, and then the damage stops. Perfect from DNM.
Just waited. And yeah, it's a bit unfortunate now having to put the point in snare, but it just stops any aggression, so it's going to be nice. And at level 1, you're on a shorter cooldown than the trample is, so you're always going to have it available as long as you're not using it aggressively.
No, it's very important. And then, really, the aspect of this lane is really going to be more so about what the silencer is able to accomplish, because AB1 has to be incredibly cautious. getting a small camp blocked up, Stinger's been really annoying. He's not allowing AB1 to get any of those easy pulls, but as long as he isn't dying in this lane, and DNM can't really die as long as he has Ensnare, then the Naga will farm. And AB1 gets to play maybe a little bit further back and give soul XP to DNM, which should allow for a much easier early game.
Should be relatively quiet on this front. Stinger, yeah, he's going to make this attempt, but I don't know. This really isn't working out all that well for him. He is getting a little bit of damage in, but... Excuse me. It seems like that's always the case with the Clockwork. You have to try just in case the opening is there, but the vast majority of the time, your harassment never evolves beyond that point in the lane itself.
Yeah, and it's where I think really both supports need to be really careful whenever they start rotating for those power runes, but otherwise, I think the Naga is off to a really stable start. Eventually, Sacred should go behind the tower and then just farm a neutral camp plus the entire creep wave, but then we'll have to see how he can snowball this Primal game, because we've seen Primals take control real quick. As Dark Mago, taking a lot of damage, but trying to continue the stacks up in Kits. Did you make a mistake here? It's going to be close, but I think Kit's dead to rights. Dark Mago does trade his life, but got the first blood.
To get in there for the kill. Speaking of potential kills, though, A1 pushed back under his tower in the bottom lane, but it looks like he's going to be okay, and as long as this holds as a one-for-one trade, East Coast will be happy with it.
Yeah, they glyphed the wave too. They are looking to keep playing under this tower. They do not want Hector to get back in, and without raindrops, well, Moose is going to move forward, misses, but okay, they're going to find the Rubik instead, and K1 is like, I'm still down here, and they need to bring the Bat Rider over. This is a desperate situation. He does have Lasso, though.
Doesn't have Flame Break, however, so does he really want to force it? Actually, he might get a kill here without even using the Lasso. Moose is not in the best of spots, but he's able to pop that Bushwhack. I think Dark Mago still chases. Yeah, Speed doesn't have any sort of heal coming out, and now the Lasso will be deployed. He's looking to make it a double kill, should be able to find it.
And that's why Dark Mago gets the 0 ban versus him. They do get a kill. Kits is able to fight for his rune, doesn't have a bottle still, but is able to kill Stinger for just being too close to him. But that's why you give the man his bat. Now he's only 1,000 gold away from his Boots of Travel. It's where those rotations, Dark Mago is so good at realizing when and where that punishment is to come. And Schofield takes over the mid lane in the meantime as well, so there was absolutely nothing wasted from Beast Coast there.
And then Singer TP's in for the bottle refill, and it's just very efficient play here, and a level of efficiency that Kit's really, for now at least, isn't able to match. He would love to just go for the TP home, but he doesn't have a scroll with him right now, so he's just got to walk back instead.
Yeah, that's where Dark Mako definitively takes that lead. There aren't any stacks for him because he's got a melee 4 in the top lane, or a melee support in that top lane, so the triangle is not going to be too jacked, but with the way his lane stage is gone, I think it's absolutely fine. But top, well, they found Sacred just a little bit too far forward. He had used the trample already to get harassed onto the wave and onto DNM, but then the spells come through, you end up incredibly slow from the Arcane Curse, and you just die for free.
And well, 2 points up in the Arcane Curse, so it's a little bit more slow than you were previously used to, but on the other side of the map, another rotation in. K1 got into trouble a second time and does actually double back when he probably shouldn't have. So Speed will kill him, but Dark Mago's there to clean up the kill.
Yeah, it's where I don't know if I need a ward behind the tower or in the lane, but one more death on Speed, and that's probably where you're in the danger zone, where the Undying really starts to fall off. But at least they're still putting incredible pressure on the Bloodseeker. And that was a play that honestly could have been something else entirely, because the Rupture is online, and that's where we might even see Hector look to aggress elsewhere. Unfortunately, Ember is the one hero that you really can't ever afford to Rupture, just because of Remnants, but really, we'll have to see where he decides to play now, because it looks like they're going to completely swap these lanes. Dark Mega is just playing bottom now.
They're going to try to get a little bit aggressive onto him. Moose is moving in. There's the Acorn shot into the Bushwhack, but do they have enough damage to do this? They threw down a Tombstone as well as the Flesh Golem, but Dark Mega just pops Firefly and flies away, so a little bit of an awkward scenario, but look at the help coming in. Kits wants to be here. He's just going to follow the trail. They get down the searing chains. There's another bushwhack pulling them in, and the bat is going to get punished. This lane swap, well, we're not going to say it's a bad idea, but at least initially it does get beaten out a little bit.
Yeah, kind of blows up in their face. At least he has his boots of travel, and really that's why he died. He was trying to greed out so he didn't have to buy another scroll because the travels were completed. But now 5RAT are going to go mode dodge. B&M's level 6. He rotates to the jungle. They are trading off the tier 1s right now, but a trade that 5RAT are comfortable with. This is the downtime. There's no flesh golem. They are TPing in now. And Sacred looking for the supports, and he's going to find them. This is a great timing. No level 6s on either the Hoodwink or the Silencer. Still needs some follow-up, and okay. Bushwhack's enough, and Speed, he's going to go down, and he's the man left behind, but really a situation that they still got the tower, they still buy space, and they buy time, and now that everybody TP'd bottom, DNM can now play top again. So Naga is extremely pleased.
It is unfortunate that Speed's the one to die again, because, well, that's his third death now in 10 minutes. Kind of setting his progress back, but the tower gold is going to make up for a lot of that, as Dark Mago, he thought about it for a second, but not sure he would have had the damage to find the kill on Kits all by himself, so backs off. At the same time, though, that is a two-man smoke. Kits and Moose are going to move their way top, and K1 doesn't really have anything defensive right now. He could try maybe the Rupture, but that would be it. But the scan is actually going to clip them. The problem is, do they think that that's Kits rotating, or do they think it's maybe just the Naga Siren farming? It's going to be the former, and that's the right choice.
Oh, and now Speed, he's got Golem in one, and this could be the bait, but let's see. And Dark Mago, he's been baited in. Perfect rotation, and that's where your Hoodwink got the Tome, has the Sharpshooter. Perfect from 5RAT. Great response. Great way to turn that botched smoke play top into an actual response. Just not slow at all. Now, Sacred got the onslaught canceled. And Kits, I don't think he dies here. Oh, but the stolen bushwhack, making it close.
He's going to be able to jump away, but he wants to go back in. That's a very greedy move, but it is going to work out for him. Speed comes over, hits him with the heal, and now Stinger. Oh. Stinger, you're too far forward. No way back in. That bushwhack, what is that range? That's a little unfair, but he's going to be able to connect, and now Schofield.
Uh-oh.
Can he do this? He's turning around. There's that bushwhack again. Dark Mago TPs to the creep wave, and Speed ran out of time on his golem. Turns around and says, you know what, Schofield, I've had enough of you. May get taken down, but at least he gets a kill first.
Yeah, but still, the chaos envelops the entire map. DNM farms, and they're unable to use Hector at all. He just takes the scraps that the Naga pushes in. And I think that's where Hector might start or might even want to look for some of these engagements. Not saying they need anybody else to make Speed's game much worse, but it might be time for the Bloodseeker to at least look to partake in some of these fights. I feel like these heroes are getting low, and there might be some openings to just right-click somebody to death, but instead he's choosing to just solely focus on getting that 17, 18-minute BKB, and then hoping that that's going to be enough. And certainly not a bad idea, but just one where I worry about Sacred and Dark Mago's game a little.
Dark Mago makes an attempt there onto Moose, but without the lasso, doesn't have any cancel for the TP, so Hoodwink's able to just get home, and well, Moose has been doing pretty damn good here. 2-1-5. We've kind of come to expect these kinds of performances from him on the Hoodwink. One of the stronger position 4 players and one of the stronger position 4 heroes, and now they're going to look to get aggressive. Kits and the two supports moving out. Kits, I believe, still has that DD rune bottled. Yes, he does. So he's going to hit pretty damn hard. And if Speed can keep heroes baited in here long enough, they might just be able to make a play onto the bat. That's exactly what they want to do. Kits is going to push his way forward. They get the searing chains down, but the hookshot from Stinger is going to disrupt this, but the bushwhack is still there into the sharpshooter, and Moose. Oh, we were just talking about the performance we come to expect from him. He was absolutely ready to make sure that bat could not move.
No, just fantastic play. Wasn't able to get in front of the sharpshooter either, but even then, I think that it was just too clean, too quick. And even though that was a nice two-man gang squad and one that was certainly capable of killing Speed, 5RAT are just, in very similar fashion to Game 1, out-rotating you. And it doesn't feel as if Beast Coast are being proactive enough to see these plays coming. Not that they have really very much save to play with, but it still feels a little bit strange. And Sacred, actually decided to maybe copy Whisper a little bit. He just has a straight up Lotus Orb already. Incredibly fast timing for the Primal, but is not that BKB that syncs up with the Bat and the Bloodseeker. So Sacred's going to have to continue being relatively cautious when it comes to his spell usage. Otherwise, that Global will blow up a team fight on their face. One that hasn't even been spent yet, because AB1's just been anchoring down mid, hasn't been involved in any of these fights, but is always that backup. As Moose, again, bottom, trying to kill Dark Mago. It's going to get a little bit tight if the lasso comes through, and it's time to go. What a... Oh, the hook shot.
Yep.
Perfect from Stinger.
Just saves the day. Dark Mago pretty easily could have died there, but you get the hook, you get the cogs knockback, sets up for the lasso, and maybe they get Moose here too. They're going to knock him back with a flame break. Speed, though, drops the heal. Moose is walking away, and with AB1 coming in, there's going to be the global. Do you really want to keep this fight going? Not really. They're going to try to back it out. Stinger, though, well, he had a bit of a different idea. Actually gets the cog trap there. Gofield stole Tombstone, but they're not really looking to turn around. The cores are just too low in HP at that point, but there's the first global silence being used, and is used mostly defensively.
Yeah, and it felt like a big global into Arcane Curse for a second there, but then the Lotus saves the Bat Rider, and everybody's really able to walk away. And now 5RAT have to be careful. They do have a really nifty ward here on the low ground. One that is not going to get dewarded by Stinger either, but Hector was actually making moves to show up towards that bottom fight, but moves that don't end up panning out. Isn't able to connect with anything else, so the map will simmer down, but now it's starting to become BKB time for Beast Coast. They're going to have it sub 20 minutes. I think Dark Mago is going to be the first one on his team to have it, but I still am concerned at how little emphasis has been put onto this Naga. DNM has a wicked fast Manta style. I don't even know what he's going to get next. Probably should just look to tank up, but if he looks for an item like the Orchid already, it could just be your easy way to punish those BKBs or the lack of BKBs if DNM is able to show up kind of casually late to a team fight and then silence the Bat or the Primal. That could be what blows up everything for Beast Coast. I just think that he's getting away with a little bit too much right now. Even though, while he's been getting away with a lot, the rest of the cores on Beast Coast are fabulously farmed. Sacred's been doing a really good job of keeping himself relevant in the game, but it's where this Lotus Orb doesn't sync up with the timing of the rest of this team, so he might be stuck waiting just a little bit longer. This bottom.
Gonna try for the fight. Stinger misses with the hook shot. Moose connects with the sharpshooter, and yeah, Kits is just able to bail himself out of there. Overall, for 5RAT, not too bad. This is going to be a little bit dicey, though. Moose, can he somehow get himself out of this? No, he can't. Flame Break's going to take him down. DNM just popped the song, and that will hit onto nobody, but Hits comes in. They do get the Searing Chains onto Sacred. Opted not to use the Lotus Orb immediately. Now he'll pop it. He's going to go for the Pulverize, but there's going to be the Global Silence, shutting it down. Dark Mago, though, has his BKB pushing in. Does he go for the Lasso? Not yet. There it is. Lasso comes out. They'll pull speed away. They're going to get him into the Blood Right. No, they're not. They don't actually keep him locked down long enough. And at this point, I don't know if they really can afford to keep this fight going. Dark Mago's just going to look for the TP away, but Kits is going to rejoin the engagement. They're going to punish Schofield as best as they can. And that time around, I mean, it looked weird, ET, right? You use Global, the song misses onto just about everybody, but they still swing the trade their way.
Yeah, and again, the hesitancy from the Bloodseeker, doesn't want to go to the low ground, doesn't want to commit before his BKB. Just a situation where only Dark Mago was really fully prepared for that team fight. And then I think Sacred just using his Lotus Orb too early. There wasn't enough of a bait game. And this, well, this is getting red a little bit. I think speed should go down pretty much for free here. The Rupture as well. Just no escape for the Undying. And Moose will look to make his own escape. But still think that Beast Coast, they're working towards that timing. The timing is about to be hit. I just wonder if DNM has gotten too much time. Because really, none of this pressure has been put into buildings. Nobody has gone towards that mid T1. Beast Coast have never taken a stab at it. They need to wait for probably a hook shot, a blink dagger, some easy way for them to cross the river. Games where Dark Mago getting it would be big, but yeah.
Well, I say the bait. The problem is K1 took too much damage acting as the bait to actually go back in, but here's Dark Mago pushing his way forward. What can they find? They get the Pulverize onto Moose. They'll take him down. AB1 getting chased as well. And I think that's really the best Beast Coast are going to be able to do at the moment. Just the 2 support kills, but it's a fight that they take and they win. They get 2 kills, they get the tower, so they'll be happy with that for now.
And really, the true objective they want is that mid T1. That breaks open the triangle, that breaks open both sides of the jungle for the Dire, and gives them an opportunity to look at Roche. And I think that's where Beast Coast are really going to be stalled up the longest, is waiting for their Bloodseeker to be able to take that objective away, because there's just really no good way for Beast Coast to do it. And if DNM and 5RAT ever find an opportunity, that's where the exact opposite is true. They have the Undying that they can abuse with the damage amp. They've got the Orchid. They've really got all the damage in the world when it comes to Roche. And it could be where if Beast Coast blow their BKBs and then just kind of tangentially reset the map, 5RAT could look to force Beast Coast into a Roche fight, which is something that we might see in the next few minutes here. But about to be daytime. Would have to see a smoke from Beast Coast before they get anything started. But again, without Blink Daggers, I think we might just be stuck waiting for a good few minutes here.
Yeah, Speed was able to get his hands on a Lotus Orb as well, so both offlaners kind of thinking along similar lines here as Schofield, yeah, he's going to get himself picked off. However, Kits, he's in some trouble. The Lotus, did it actually reflect the Rupture? It did, so K1's got to be kind of careful here pushing his way forward. But they were at least able to make that a trade. Kits does get taken down, but now the song comes into play. There is a very low health Bloodseeker who is just absolutely dead to rights. They'll take him down. They're going to look for Sacred as well. He's able to... Well, no, he's not able to do much. He popped the Uproar initially, but there's just too much lockdown.
Yeah, I don't think they should be able to turn this into Roche, and maybe 5RAT tempt it, but there isn't that much Golem, and there isn't a Tombstone, but it is 20 minutes into the game, and I guess this is going to be their force, and if nobody on Beast Coast bat an eye, then maybe this is theirs, but there is a Clockwork in the game, and that will scout it out, and yeah. Just a forcing move, you know, forcing Beast Coast to maybe think twice, but that was your double BKB reveal. The perfect Lotus Orb didn't scout it out from the Undying, and then the fight blows up in your face. Sure, you get some kills, and I think Kit's definitely messed up there, just not having full remnants before the team fight, but also definitely got greedy for that Rubik kill, but hey, it got you a Bloodseeker and a Primal kill, so it's hard to say, you know, whether or not it's a true mistake when your teammates can play off you like that, but a mistake that Beast Coast cannot really afford. I think 2 or 3 more team fights like that, if 5RAT are able to win them resoundingly, then that might just be the beginning of the end. And I know it's tough to say, we've got a lot more Dota to play in this game, but it's just how they've drafted and the virtue of these core lineups. If you start giving time and even more itemization to DNM, the Naga just has no other animal. He is the apex predator in this game. There's nothing you can do if you get going.
And I mean, that Lotus, that really was kind of the big deal, right? K1 thought he could maybe get the Rupture in time. Instead, he ruptures himself, and now you've lost the mobility on the Bloodseeker, which is kind of one of the best things about your hero is Kits. Oh, man. 4 heroes converge on him, but they can't keep the lockdown in place, and he just walks away, and what was that? That was Lasso used? That was Pulverize, although... I mean, who cares? Pulverize is on just an insanely short cooldown, but the Lasso is going to be an issue.
Yeah, they don't have Lasso. They don't have Hookshot for another 30 seconds. And 5RAT say, okay, we can smoke up. We can look for maybe another BKB. Ooh. Has to be from the trees, and they got him. It needs to be quicker, but... Oh, he's so low, and that's the Hoodwink hero. Just pretty much kills you 100-0. Moose is going to lose his life, probably, but...
Global's going to cancel the Pulverize. He's going to Lotus it off immediately, but now he's still surrounded by enemies. The Bushwhack doesn't care about your Lotus Orb. Sacred gets himself taken down. That's just... That's rough, but I mean, listen. It's about that time. It's time to praise Moose again. He does 90% of the damage on the first kill, and then helps keep the lockdown in place for the second.
This is risky.
You just can't let Hoodwink in anymore. It's just too strong at this stage, and as you said, there is still some risk here. Stinger has Hookshot. But they're oh god, they're actually going to jump their way forward. They're looking for a fight. Stinger, though, does Hookshot in onto Moose. Is there any way to save him? For now, it looks like yes, he's able to get himself away. He runs right into Dark Mago, though, so will get himself taken down, but all that buys time. DNM gets the Aegis, and Dark Mago... Gotta be careful. I know he would love to cancel TPs, but doesn't really have any means to do so, and you can't afford to go too much further than where he ended up.
Yep. The Lasso 5RAT get the Aegis that they were gunning for, even though it certainly was a force, but 30 seconds on both the cores just feels free enough for them. And now, well, Beast Coast, you've got an Aegis to play around. You still don't have too many forms of initiation. Dark Mago does have the Octarine core, so is starting to become that scary Bat Rider, especially if he can get his level 20. Then those 2 Flame Break charges can certainly cause some of that chaos in these team fights. But now 5RAT loop back around item-wise, and they start getting these defensive items. They start looking at BKBs, and you think to yourself, are we scaling with enough damage? And I think when you look over at Hector, you simply say, kind of, no. He's got a full Manta style now, but your itemization on the Seeker is Manta BKB Maelstrom. Just doesn't feel that high impact. And sure, Hector can now farm the lane in addition to the jungle with this Manta style, but it's not an item for now. This is an item that will get you items down the road. We're just not there yet. As Kits moves away, Remnant's out, I still need to see a Blink Dagger from Beast Coast. They just can't be allowed to play on the lanes this confidently. 5RAT are just getting away with way too much.
They're going to try to smoke up, but again, without that blink, it's just the charge to get them into the fight. They do charge their way onto Kits, but there's the song. The global popped as well. This fight is done. Good news is you don't expend too much on the Beast Coast side, right? Sacred just charges in and gets 2 huge cooldown ults, but now you have to make sure you don't lose any heroes. Stinger's going to get rooted, but they did hear the lasso come into play. They caught out Kits, but where's the damage? They don't have enough to follow it up, and even without the global or the song, Beast Coast are losing this fight. They're starting to fall back already. K1, he's holding the Rupture. Wants to see what he can get. He is going to drop it down now. But at this point, this just isn't really going well. They're still not taking any sort of definitive step forward. In fact, they're all retreating. And Stinger's just going to get taken down. A tower falls. I think maybe that was the tier 1 top while all of that happened. So you can't fault them ET for the thought process, right? There's no song, there's no global. Let's try and make something happen. But now we come back to that damage question, because the lockdown was there. They just can't actually kill anyone.
Oh, and then great force staff from Schofield, which should result in him being able to walk this one out, but trying for it and with the chains, and doesn't even need it because Muse is just that good. But they still aren't finding their way onto these targets, and I think that's where, again, simply a Blink Dagger might be your answer. At least Sacred now has a BKB, so he can afford to casually put his Lotus Orb out there and then still play for his own game, but just feels like 5RAT are still successfully getting away with what should be a weaker lineup. And they're fighting mid. There's no BKB on the Ember, so Speed needs some help, but he's got a Lotus Orb to play for.
They're just not doing enough damage. Speed's going to heal himself up. Stinger goes down. Dark Mago's already lost 2/3 of his HP, so with his BKB still ticking, he's got to fall back. And they just ruptured Speed. He doesn't care about that. He's just going to sit there and wait, while K1, you already used all your magic immunity. He will be taken down. Lasso, though, did catch Kits, and they will be able to kill him. So at least they get that, but what's the cost going to be in the end? They are chasing after Sacred, getting into the base, going to hit him up with the Ensnare. And Moose will take him down and just... Oh, man. At least they got the fight that time, I suppose, ET, but if they don't have the initiation, they can't fight. If they do somehow get into the initiation, they're still lacking damage. It's rough.
Yeah, and at least Dark Mago has heard my pleas. Hopefully he turns this blink into an overwhelming blink, or I guess maybe a Shiva's guard, but just now they can catch you off guard. Now Beast Coast can start a fight, most likely onto the Ember Spirit. If they can get him first, then that's perfect, or even the Undying at this point. But just get a hero in, drag him far, and then hope that you have enough damage to actually land once the global comes through. You can just pace out your BKBs, then that could be enough to stop the high ground. But I just still am extremely concerned. And sure, the Aegis is going to time out in 20 seconds here. DNM doesn't have another strong item to slot into either. He's looking to just completely finish out that Mage Slayer, but you cannot afford to just spend 10 seconds fighting into an Undying who just simply is surviving off of soul ripping himself and flesh goleming. It's just not enough. It's where we really need to get those little plays going for Beast Coast, where they have time to close the gap. Because in that fight, DNM didn't drop below 95% HP. The Naga is not being touched. There's nothing you can do versus her, so you have to play on the 4 other members. Otherwise, there's simply no fight for Beast Coast.
The fight may be coming to them at this point. 4-man smoke making their way to the north, and There's some big targets potentially in here. K1 and Sacred are hanging out, just trying to find some last hits. K1 does have his BKB and his Manta, so he might just be able to get out of here. There's a TP scroll available as well, and it looks like they are going to run it into Sacred first. BKB popped. Charging away. He'll TP out. K1 will TP out, and they dodge it for now.
Oh, they get to avoid, but this really just cinches up the map. At least K1 has some illusions already out. On
Moose.
that
There's
top
no
lane,
way.
but
There's absolutely no way.
got BKB. He gets ruptured and lassoed. And Hector, he's going to get caught and he's on a word. Oh no. He's fast, but I don't know if he's that fast.
There's the silence. There's the root. The flame break, though, is actually going to push him back, but over behind the tower, Kits is going to work, and he's got a DD room. They're going to be able to take down Stinger. They spot K1 cutting through the trees with the tombstone, and they will get this kill. K1 taken down. At least Dark Mega will get away, but just relentless at this point for 5RAT. They push top. 2 heroes TP out, so they say, okay, now we just go bot, and we still get to force our fight.
Yeah, sure. You got the Hoodwink kill, and really, they're doing a good job with what they've got. There's no push onto that bottom tier 2 because Dark Mago immediately went for that creep cut, but it just feels like more and more we're getting into Beast Coast cannot fight. They have to delay. They have to wait out. Dark Mago probably would like his 25 before he really has to look at another big engagement. That's why they're giving him the tome, because it's feeling like that's what we need from him to win this game, which is going to be much later on down the line, but just feels like the Bloodseeker is no longer really effective. He's becoming more and more so just a rupture, not really a right clicker, not really any more control in these team fights. It already was a tough Bloodseeker game, but it just has started to spiral. And DNM now with full Bloodthorn, now gets to look for another tanky item. Already has 3.7k HP. Probably doesn't even need to be any tankier, but the Naga is just getting further and further away. Nice lasso though. Might be able to kill Moose again top, but his Lotus Sword kills him. Okay.
Find the pick. They get the hook shot in onto Kits, but yeah, Stinger is probably just going to get sacrificed at this point, and Sacred's actually in trouble as well. He's forced to pop his BKB. That should get him to the other side of the river, and I think he'll be okay, but that is just going to be a support for support trade, and actually Sacred may not get out after all. Kits keeps chasing to get the Searing Chains once the BKB wears off. And he is just getting silenced up, burned down. Lotus Orb removes that, though, so he's not dead yet, and Schofield pushes him away with the headband, and you do get Sacred out of there, but feels like for Beast Coast, this is really all that they can afford to do right now. It's stall tactics, it's trying to wait for as long as they can, but I don't know. I mean, the longer they wait, the stronger DNM gets on the other side.
Yeah, and that is the fastest Roche timer I've ever... That was a 2-second Roche. One so fast that 5RAT might not even scout it immediately, because I've never seen that before. That is wicked, because if 5RAT do scout it, Beast Coast are still not ready to fight you. They are still waiting for that next big ticket item from Hector before you really look for another engagement. And will this Illusion Rune top lead into them checking? The Kits could just throw in a slight as well, and then they'll know, and he does it, but he misses the slight. No, Kits.
Well, they still don't know yet. That buys Beast Coast some much-needed time. K1, though? That's a very, very risky play. They're going to try and force staff him out, but Kits pushing his way forward. BKB, though, is available. K1, he's not going to pop it just yet, but that means he has to leave a support behind. Stinger will be the sacrificial lamb. 5RAT, yeah, I don't know about this. All right, that's not... The heck? Okay. Immediately cancels his own charge. That's not really a big enough pick to try for the high ground. This certainly would be, though. Dark Mago's been caught. He does have his BKB. They pop it. Can they force him to use anything? As of right now, it's looking like no. He is starting to walk away from this engagement, and now he's going to TP back to base.
Yeah, and with this, they do scout out the Roche. DNM did just use his illusions, so might have to wait for that next timing, but 5RAT are about to force you into a fight. And a fight that Beast Coast are really adept at taking. They've got the clockwork, they've got tons of vision with the napalm to throw out. It's where this could be your game swing, where if Beast Coast have a successful fight on the Roche, where all 5RAT's heroes are going to be focused, then that could be your game changer, to give them a little bit more time and a little more space. That's a full refresher on Dark Mago as well, so he can afford to keep, especially that Ember Spirit, locked down for an incredibly long time. Kits doesn't have that Linkens yet, but He jumps first, and they're going to see the refresher.
Now the global silence comes out. There was a rupture thrown down there, so Moose has to chill for a second, but his teammates are pushing their way forward, trying to create the space for him. The Rubik, though, just jumped in with the remnants that he had stolen, so he creates a little bit of a distraction, but it's not what they wanted. Dark Mago jumped in, popped the refresher, but didn't get the initiation, and now the song, that's going to break this one up. 4 heroes caught in it. They're going to look for the silence onto Schofield first. Not able to actually bring him down, though, so 5RAT's damage is not as focused as it needs to be, and K1 is going to try to take advantage of it. Pops the BKB, goes in onto AB1. Able to find that kill, but now can he make a clean getaway? Not 100% sure. He's getting slowed up a little bit, but the Sleight of Fist into the Searing Chains actually didn't catch him out initially. They're still chasing, but he's going to be able to pop the Manta, so he is out of the fight. Sacred, can he TP out? No, he can't. Moose is going to snipe him out with the Sharpshooter, so ET at the end of all of that. Schofield dies, Sacred goes down. They trade those two out for AB1, but neither team really got onto, I guess, what we would call the primary targets.
Yeah, and it's a really big, really long, messy engagement. One that 5RAT are just happy. They got all the BKBs from Beast Coast yet again, so now Beast Coast are in no position to actually defend this Roshan. It's a free Aegis. They don't know that Stinger is all the way on the other side of the map, but they're still doing their due diligence. Moose is looking for hooks. He's got a ward to block. No way for him to smoke out in time. And really, losing the kill onto Kits is just the perfect song from DNM. Just keeping the Ember alive. Now he has that Lincolns to work with, and Dark Mago couldn't find the first lasso, had to refresh his second BKB, and then the Bat Rider couldn't stay onto anything. Now, looking bottom, this might be his little free pick, especially connecting it with the Seeker, but now it might be time to move away. Can't afford to show any longer here. Dark Mago's about to be 25. That is going to be their light in the dark. That's where Dark Mago becomes a force to be reckoned with on that high ground. Everybody needs to be so careful and so mindful of how many dispels you actually can count for 5RAT, but will it be enough? Because he has certainly become the win objective now for Beast Coast.
Gets 25, gets the talent, so got those napalm stacks. There was a basher picked up here as well for K1, so it has taken a long time, but we're starting to see maybe a little bit more in the way of damage and actual offensive itemization from him. We'll have to see if it's enough, because he is still unbelievably dependent on that 6-second window with his BKB timing, but at least now he gets to do something, which was not the case for a lot of these fights in the mid. Well, might just have to play 4v5. Someone can obviously control the hero, but still not a great time.
Yeah, no, and now we're just sitting here and, yeah, Stinger proposes the question, and 5RAT only really have one way forward, even though begrudgingly, just have to kind of say, yeah, G4v5, and then that's where you would want to hope, then say that maybe 5RAT just have it, but this is also East Coast able to push for this advantage. They now are in a 4v5. This is where that game 3 feels like it could just become almost guaranteed, because this is a game that has a lot more game to be played. They haven't broken the high ground. They haven't gotten glyph. They haven't touched those tier 3s. This game was not ending in really any time soon here. And now I can only imagine that Speed or AB1, who already have their own heroes to play, will have to pick up what Kits has to follow, in addition to Kits no longer being able to get items either. So, well, no more progression for the Emperor.
And it's unfortunate, because during the pause we were talking about, is this his moment now to transition into damage? He can't. He won't have the ability to. So, if you're 5RAT, I don't know. We could see them start pushing the tempo a little bit here just by virtue of necessity, right? Our Ember Spirit can literally no longer advance, so do we just try to push forward? Do we still rely on DNM? And I don't know, maybe the shift comes there, because you still have the Naga Siren. You could shift Kits basically into a supporting role with someone controlling him and try to play it out that way, but it's not an ideal circumstance no matter what. As Sacred gets hit up here, BKB TP will get him home, and oh, we're not really seeing anything change too drastically just yet.
Yeah, they're slowly but surely getting out onto the waves. The most annoying part is just that now the Ember Spirit is just a bot that's going to follow you around, so he can't deal with the split push that he really would like to. As, okay, Kits finds a play on the Stinger, but there's the lasso. They find the Hoodwink early, and then This team fight just looks like they're not set up enough. The Naga is going to try to get speed out, but it's time to go probably. He's looking to
They're
fight
setting
though.
up like they want the engagement. Gonna take down Stinger. Meanwhile, K1 pops the Manta to get out of the route. Dark Mago, though, I mean, he's got the refresher. He could try for another round of fighting here, but it looks like it's just going to be Beast Coast who back themselves away. So, turns into a support trade-off. You did not have to use the orb, so he keeps that off of its long cooldown, but they're still hunting. They are looking here. No connection from the Ember Spirit. That does allow Dark Mago to TP away, but K1, he is going to get spotted. They silence him up. Can they actually root him, though? No, they can't. He's going to pop his BKB, and he'll TP away.
Yep. Gets to walk that one out. And again, struggling to get onto the waves. His speed is getting bullied because Dark Mago is allowed to do this. And Dark Mago's looking to go all the way in. Still has his BKB. Still has Firefly going, but he's going to have to settle for AB1. I don't know if he's going to be able to connect, but that's where Sacred says, I can pick up speed if you want me to, but I don't know if he wants to.
And now with DNM getting involved, this fight's going to be a little bit rough. K1 hit by the silence. He's able to get rid of it with the Manta, though, and the Pulverize is going to keep DNM at arm's length, but they're going to still lose some heroes here. Schofield gets taken down. Stinger is almost assuredly dead. Yeah. The controlled Ember Spirit pushes in for the kill, so they turn that into a 2-for-1 in the supports, and, well, 5RAT. They're still holding their own, even with the split focus. Someone having to control up multiple heroes, but for now, at least, it's kind of working.
Yeah, it's just, again, unfortunate that Kits is only going to get TPs if he actually dies with his hero, because he can't buy items for a DC'd teammate, but no, it's okay. For the time being, the cores still stay alive, though, so Beast Coast get to push out the lanes just a little bit more. They're still doing a pretty fantastic job of keeping those waves away, so 5RAT don't find any building damage, and Aegis is gone. This has been their 3 minutes, and Dark Mago out of the base, and he finds it with the Ags. He gets 2. He gets both of them, and Kits, well, he's got BKB, but this is bad.
They're going to try to hunt down Dark Mago, but DNM realizes he's not going to catch up, so TP back to base, and, well, that's not too bad, right? Only Moose goes down. It could have been Kits' Ember getting picked off as well, so I think they'll be okay with that. But ET, we're approaching the point where even a kill into the Hoodwink, it puts him down for a long time. Those death timers become an issue, and I suppose that now frees up somebody to control Kits full time, but slight disadvantage. I don't know if Beast Coast are really going to be able to push this any further, though. They're trying their best, but they're pushing into a Naga Siren still.
It's unfortunate. And now you just see there's just no fear. And full refresher on the Bloodseeker as well. Isn't level 25, but is going to have 4 ruptures to put out. Is Dark Mago hunting, blinking in. Has pretty much all of his abilities. Didn't have lasso when he made that blink, but is still just poking, prodding, baiting even. But the Beast Coast are now kind of out 5-ratting 5-rat. They've got the gold lead back. They're pushing on the waves. They're actually getting tower damage done. It's where really the rest of 5-rat's heroes aren't really capable of pushing those waves. That's a great jump though, and Kector, oh, he's so close to going down, and he's a walk-in, but he's got another BKB if he needs, and he'll do it, but no mana.
He is caught, and they take him down quickly enough. Oh, hold on, a Stolen Song. It didn't last very long, but the fight is going to break out. Sacred gets in, Pulverize onto Speed. The Lotus Orbs are reflecting all of these spells, though. The Global does come through, but Speed gets taken down. Now the Naga Siren getting hit up. No way back out. He's just got to hold his ground, and he's not going to be able to do it. The DNM goes down. Speed falls as well. Both heroes have buybacks, but look at the way Dark Mago's playing forward. He's able to get the lasso. They're going to catch out AB1. AB1 has his buyback as well, so he could rejoin this engagement. And if you're Beast Coast, you really do need to get yourself out of here because they used just about all of their resources the first time around.
Yeah, both refreshers, really every ultimate to their disposal, and they do get to make the great escape. And they got DNM's buyback, so now they will dump absolutely everything. They'll throw their Batrider's life, they'll try to abuse buybacks of their own, and with that, that's where the game might just dispel. It's where 5-rat, I'm not sure what they do. They need to find a way, and again, it might come from their Hoodwink and just hoping that Moose has his head still in this one and he's going to be able to find those early jumps. But this is where now net worth eclipsing DNM. DNM looks great from ahead, but now that he's caught, it's just so much net worth that he has to deal with. And Dark Mago, full Arcane Blink, all of that damage is going to be pretty much instant once he blinks in. Not the overwhelming blink, but, you know, certainly has its own benefits, especially just with those cast times reduced, but very obnoxious now for 5RAT to deal with. And again, if they use too many of their dispels, if they use too many of those defensive tools, their forces, that's a situation that DNM, if he's not careful, might not be able to walk out of.
Aghanim Scepter up on Schofield, Aghanim Scepter up on Sacred, Abyssal Blade picked up by K1, so they're getting all these big items online. And then, as a reminder, with kits still unable to reconnect, they can't buy anything for him, so that gap is going to become more and more concerning. And if you're 5RAT, I don't know. I mean, they can still take it. That fight outside of their base was really unfortunate in terms of the position that they were forced into, but I mean, what means do they have to try and get in here? Is it just going to be Moose to make the play by himself, or what other options do they really have?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, and they've got a nice ward here. They're trying to abuse the vision, but Beast Coast simply say that, well, our wards are for everything else. And look at that, unfortunate, trying to get the Bushwhack onto the Hoodwink. It doesn't work, and this is DNM. If he goes down now, that might just be the game. He's got one Manta, one Song, but he's not going to survive this.
Double kill for K1. Dark Mago is going to push forward. They're looking for more. He's going to refresh, looking for another lasso onto speed, locks him down, and there's your GG. 5RAT. Oh, this really is not the way that they wanted this to go. They had some momentum on their side, and just a casual pause into a reconnect to try and deal with some lag ends up just... apparently the GG won't actually trigger, according to AB1. It's kind of awkward, but yeah. You just reconnect at the wrong time, right? Restart your Dota, all of a sudden you're updating the game, and you can't get back in.
Yeah, and now, according to AB1, all that they can do is now have Beast Coast literally end the game for them. They have to literally break through the tier 3 and then hit tier 4s.
Why Deso? What a scuffed game this is, but there we go. K1 will buy a Deso. They'll just try to go to work on the objectives, and 5RAT won't really contest them. So yeah, this is one of the dumbest ways I've ever seen a Dota game end, but yeah, the game quite literally broke. Kits wasn't allowed back in, the GG doesn't work, and at least Beast Coast are able to finish things off eventually, but BT, we're going to a third game, just not in the way that I think either team really would have wanted.
No, definitely not. Even though it's impossible to say, and that's really the thing that sucks the most, is it not only discredits what could have been 5RAT's win, but it also discredits Beast Coast, because they were building speed. They were getting 25 on Dark Mago. He was still having a really good game. It's just that there wasn't very much to stop him. After the DC happens, it again puts everything into question. So even though Beast Coast might get the 1-0 score, it doesn't feel like it. And we don't get to see what would be the true result of this game. It's just a wash. It's something we don't even get to look at the stats. It's like the game never even happened. But no, 5RAT are certainly upset. I'm upset. Beast Coast are probably mildly upset, but still upset, you know, and just hope that this game 3 is going to give us exactly what we want out of a series. But just unbelievably bad luck for 5RAT. Just, I don't know, shell-shocked.
Yeah, it's not entirely fair, that's for sure, but it is what it is, and 5RAT are just going to have to hope now that they can regroup and have the mental fortitude to put this behind them and put together the same kind of performance for Game 3, right? Because until that disaster happens, they were feeling and looking pretty good, so don't really have a post-game screen to show you. As you can see on the screen, though, I do need to update Dota, so yeah, that sucks, but we're going to a Game 3, and hopefully it'll make up for what goes wrong here. So we'll be right back in just a couple of minutes with the third and final match of the series, so stick around. We'll be back in a bit.